as they populate.
Mm-hmm. The community of Paradise was not in Paradise, California. It was not very, it had all those traits as well. That's the evacuation at 10 a.m. You can see all the cars going the same direction. And that looks like midnight, but it's 10 a.m. I highly encourage anybody that wants to know what it feels like, smells like, emotionally, to watch Fire in Paradise on Netflix. It's not something to watch with kids, but it's not a reenactment, it's actual footage that they cobbled together. It's only about 40 minutes long, but it's enlightening. Paradise, ironically, had one of the most elaborate evacuation plans I've ever seen. And I've been all over California fighting wildfires. There's no way this can work. Most of the cell towers were lost in just the first 2 hours. So communicating to everybody that now it's your turn to evacuate went out the window. So nixels aren't your savior. They're a tool, but if there's no cell towers, there's no nixel. They had an 94% failure rate on cell phones. And then, like Maristone Island, you can see they only had one way out, right here, right? So this is what we want you to be prepared for. First of all, I've gotten this question a lot. Chief, you're going to tell us when it's level 1, right? I may, but I didn't on Beaver Valley. I went straight to 3. So don't expect the first notice to be the nice little soft, this is the fire chief giving you your warning, he asked to evacuate. It might be get out now. But if you do get level 1 or level 2, you should use your instincts and think, I need a little more time to get out. I shouldn't wait to be told to leave. I should probably just head out now and find a nice place to go have lunch or go have dinner. Load a few things in the car. You never want to wait to be told to leave. If you feel threatened, when the Beaver Valley fire happened, my wife knows I'll never answer my phone when I'm working, but my phone was pinging off the hook from her because she could smell smoke at our house in Paradise Bay. And later on, she said, I was already packed, ready to go. I just want to see if you were okay. I wasn't calling you to see if I should leave, because she knows what to do, because we come from a fire-prone area, right, near Yosemite. You live in a fire-prone area here. We live in a fire-prone area. So have that awareness. In your go bag, these are the things that we want you to carry. They're on our website too, and there's some materials in the back. And again, we want to reduce the holes in the Swiss cheese, because there's different layers of tragedy. The first tragedy is the wildfire, where obviously it's going to hurt the vegetation and the animals and the community. The next layer is it's going to hurt potentially homes and property. But the third layer is you. We don't want you hurt. And really, in Paradise, that's one of the things that hampered the firefight. They couldn't even start fighting the fire because thousands of people, had not evacuated when they were told. So that is one of our tactics, is we can't go into structure protection and offensive firefighting strategies if there's lives to be saved. That's our decision tree. Firefighters were pretty simple. We can only think of 2 or 3 things at one time, that's it. So if there's a life involved, that's what we're gonna do first. Once that's solved, then we're gonna go fight the fire. Any questions before I start about CWPP?
So if there's a fire on Maristone Island,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna, when you say evacuate right away, go right to level 3, we have one road out. It's really gonna depend on where that fire is.
Yeah.
And so it's not going to be a matter of evacuating with a car. It might be evacuating on a boat.
Yep.
And
Or finding a safe refuge area, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about in the CWPP.
okay.
But one of the questions I get frequently is, Chief, we want you to tell us what road to take when there's a wildfire. It's not going to happen. There's no way I can do that. The fire is dynamic. It's not like a tsunami, right, where it's coming at you in 2 dimensions. Tsunami's only going to come from one area, right? And all we got to do is go the opposite way. Well, what happened at the Beaver Valley fire? The fire changed directions I counted 6 times because the wind changed directions, and then it was spotting ahead of us. That's also what happened in Paradise. Their only highway out of town was lit off by a spot fire a mile ahead of the main fire. So you have to be thinking, to your point, where's the fire now? Where is it potentially going? What is my best option? And that is a 3-dimensional problem that we can't have an evacuation scheme solve all of that. There's just no way. And so the best thing you can do is try to be proactive and think about, my plan A is this, my plan B is that. I'm gonna find a beach to take shelter on if I can't get off the island. If I can't find a beach, I'm gonna find some pavement. If I can't find pavement, I'm gonna find a gravel road. Something that won't burn. That's the goal, okay? I think somebody asked, what is the safe distance from fire? Our rule, with our wildfire gear on, which is not fireproof, it's fire resistant, so we can still burn, is with all our gear on, we can't be any closer to the flames than 4 times the flame height, okay? So if the flames are 20 feet tall, and they were more than 20 feet tall on the Beaver Valley fire, some simple math there, I need to be approximately 80 to 100 feet away. Well, I can't fight a fire when I'm 80 to 100 feet away. The stream won't shoot that far. So that's why we typically won't go direct or use our offensive strategies with flame lengths higher than 4 to 6 feet, because the water just won't reach the flames. Does that make sense? Now for you in civilian clothes, your distance should be greater than that, because we're trained, equipped, you're not. And the next question I usually get right about now is, but Chief, on Amazon, they have these amazing masks or this blanket. Yeah, they do. There's a reason we don't use them. That's what I'll tell you. There's a reason we don't use them. They have no thermal protection. Fire is going to kill you most likely in 2 ways: smoke inhalation and or radiation, thermal impingement on your body. So just because you have a fancy fireproof mask or fireproof blanket, those aren't going to protect you. And you're probably going to put yourself in more risk thinking you're a little bit invincible. And you probably wait longer too, is what I've seen. We don't want that either. Questions? Yes?
We have a wonderful hookup out here for a fire hydrant that's never come.
Right on the corner there. Do you think that might come in the near future?
So that's a great question. Did everybody hear that about the fire hydrant? Yes, so the fire department doesn't run fire hydrants. That's TUD that runs fire hydrants. And you can petition TUD and they'll give you an answer as to what the obstacles are to that. The last time I checked, we get this question a lot throughout the fire district. The last time I checked, to install a fire hydrant, tap it from the main and put a lateral on there was about $25,000, including the hardware. That's not prevailing wage, that's not the labor, that's the hardware.
Wow.
So it's expensive. I don't know what the reasons for this not being hooked up are, but it needs to be connected to a system that can handle a fire hydrant. It's not enough just to put a fire hydrant in the ground if your system can't support it. I need to be able to, pump, at least 1,000 gallons a minute out of a hydrant. And if that's not hooked up to a pipe that can support that for more than a couple minutes, I don't have fire hydrants in my neighborhood either. I have a 2,000 gallon water tank, and that isn't going to do much, but it's something. Yes?
So what did you have during the Beaver Valley fire? You mentioned the map, like luckily there was water, but what if that wasn't there? You just have tanks?
We didn't fight the fire with much water.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because the flame lengths were so high, but I'll show you real quick. So this guy here on the left, that's a Bambi bucket hanging down there. He dipped out of those ponds right there. And that really was a game changer because that takes time for him to descend and ascend once he's full because the buckets are heavy. And he was basically able to just do one big fat oval and dip and get repeated drops on this fire for us to get control running. So that, if we had to go farther for a water source or dip out of the bay, that would have taken exponentially longer because he's got to fly. That's just VFR. He doesn't need to file a flight plan or anything. But if he has to traverse any mountains or any power lines, that's a lot more work for him.
So would Mystery Bay be helpful, or are there too many boats in there for you?
Too many, not just boats, but boats with big sticks on them.
Right.
Well, it
So
sounded
that's
like
not a
the
possible.
helicopter was gratuitous that it wasn't off doing something else.
It was.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, we had people today get the refresher training for ordering air assets. We every year they do our refresher training right about now. But there's a lot of aerial hazards to aviation that we have to be mindful of, and drones is another one. Can't fly when there's drones in the air. So any of you think you're going to help us with drones, please don't. So they'll ground the aircraft if they see a drone.
Really?
What was the start of this fire? What was the cause?
The Beaver Valley fire? Well, it's hard to tell unless we were actually there to see it start on a highway, because there's so many things that could start it. When the fire was done, we saw numerous cigarette butts along the road. Which one of those started the fire, we don't know. We saw fireworks, burned out fireworks along the side of the road. It could have been one of those, but again, we don't know. Wildfires are really hard to determine the cause of, but most of them are not lightning. Most of them are human caused to some degree. Maybe not a deliberate act, but sometimes negligent acts. 3 weed burner fires in last month.
But those weed burners work so good.
I know. I've used them in my past too. But you know, I tell this story sadly, but my first fire season here a couple of years ago, I had a gentleman that had a beautiful manicured yard down in Shine, and we got dispatched for a vegetation fire threatening a home. And we get there, and he had a weed burner, and he had a large burn when I got there to his calf. And then his forearms were burnt. He lit the juniper touching his house on fire. And junipers, you will never see a juniper in front of a firefighter's house. They are very, very flammable, ignitable. They're oily. Underneath the green is all kinds of dead stuff. So he lit him on fire, and then he was trying to put his house out. So he burned himself pretty good. So I don't like weed burners. Okay, so there's a whole list. Don't get me started. Yeah, it drives my wife nuts.
Right.
Community Wildfire Protection Plan is a fancy way to say a wildfire strategic plan. What we're going to do about it. We're asking ourselves, what are we going to do about it? Not just the fire department, but the big we. So this project has been something we've been working on for almost 2 years with the county, the city, Public Works, PUD. I mean, the group that's part of this, I think there's over 100 different people on this advisory group. Public comment closed yesterday, and we're pretty proud of how far we've come. We were one of the last counties in Washington to have this. So it was one of the things I was pushing for the second I got here, is we need to have one of these. The county ponied up. The next time you talk to a county official, tell them thanks. They ponied up all the money for it, 100,000 plus, to do this plan.